Despite what their moms told them, they just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Monday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there, join the militia. Thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate all of you. This is your Wake Forest post-game show. A day late. You'll hear from us, and we'll hear from you in fan feedback. A lot of fan feedback, a lot of the same fan feedback. And we'll do our best to get through some of the more thoughtful things. But, of course, we will talk about the overwhelming majority of thoughts that were based on the same topic. Syracuse hangs with a top 25 team. I haven't seen enough people mention that. I don't think it was even mentioned in any of our fan feedback. And losing by 3, 40-37 against the 6-0, now 6-0 Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And I thought they played a hell of a game. And in games when you're playing a team like Wake Forest at the top of the ACC, number 19 in the country, the little things are going to be what we point to at the end of the day in a loss. So it was a lot of little things, or maybe just a few little things, and we'll talk about all of that. Sean Tucker named ACC running back of the week with his performance, 153 yards and 2 touchdowns, and probably will not be the last for him. Congratulations to Sean Tucker. Joe
Absolutely.
was getting in a little bit later than expected last night. Honestly, Sundays, I have got to wind down. I cannot start this show at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm sure Joe, wanted to hang with the family a little bit. So we pushed it off to today. We'll be back on track, hopefully. Tomorrow I'll be back here for the Clemson preview, which was another Friday night game. And we were going to squeeze that in today, but we decided that we'll just wait another day because with our luck, what will happen is something will drop, and then we'll either have to do like an emergency episode or just miss it until the following week. So anyways, Joe was going to go to the game. Joe weren't able to do that. Too busy before he left. Couldn't get a test there. Got to Syracuse. Couldn't get one in time. Everything had to be scheduled. So back to our point a few weeks ago, impromptu game appearances for Joe from now North Carolina. Not that easy. And that was exactly our point. And you got to experience that. So you had tickets and everything and couldn't even go to the game. Now, if you would have went on the socials, Joe, if you would have went on Twitter and asked, I'm sure maybe someone could have steered you in the right direction, but maybe not. So I don't know, but
I just didn't have the time.
You just didn't have the time. Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad.
Because by the time when I left North Carolina, it wasn't within 72 hours. And when I got to New York, everything was closed when I got there because I got in late. And the next day I had a wedding. That was kind of had to go buy some stuff because all my stuff's in storage. There was just a lot of things that because of my situation in life, with moving and everything.
Had you not needed a negative COVID test to get into the dome, were you going to go?
Absolutely. I mean, I would have went.
Right. And I believe you. And you were stoked about it, too, because we even talked off air about it. So, anyways, that's just to a point that we had made right when the football season started. So,
it's only going to get worse than basketball.
Well, I was just thinking that, man, because in late January, they played Georgia Tech at home. I think it was Georgia Tech. Might have been Wake Forest, actually. But anyways, they played them late January at home. And we try to make it there once a year for a football or basketball game. And obviously with last year's, all the stuff that happened then when the dome being closed, I haven't been to Syracuse in 2 years. So we were going to go this winter, and I'm just going to have to wait and see, I guess, what the protocols are. And like you said, it's probably going to get worse. So I guess we'll go from there. But, all right, we digress. It's time to hear what Coach had to say after the game.
wanted to ask you about the 2-point conversion at the end of regulation. You sent the offense out and you got to delay a game. What happened?
This thing is, there wasn't a sense of urgency of us going out on the football field. There was certain cats that were taking their time, and we needed to speed that thing up. And it was disappointing. I didn't want it to go to overtime, and it was disappointing that we got that penalty. No, normally after a touchdown, I don't want to be doing my official stuff with those guys, but I want to say normally it's a 25-second clock, okay? So they go to 25 seconds after a touchdown, and the first thing was we were going to go for 2 and getting the guys over here, and there's so many it's not the matter of just signaling it from the sideline. There's so many new guys, you want to tell them what's going on. Now they have to have a sense of urgency going back out there. We kind of lacked that sense of urgency. The clock ran out on us. I think Garrett's been playing really well. I think he's been doing some things. And the one thing I don't want to do is compare people. It's really not fair. It's not fair to Garrett, and it's not fair to Dungy. Now, that being said, I've still seen Dungy do some things I've never seen ever in my life in 35 years of coaching. So I'd be very careful comparing cats with him.
Along those lines, though, do you feel that this offense has made that switch over to the style now that you're accustomed to playing with Garrett?
I don't know the answer to that. I think we still have the ability to do one or two types of things. I think Garrett's been doing a really, really nice job. Obviously, we're scoring points, and that's the main thing. Okay, it's all that other stuff. Have the ability to score points, and to score points in the 30s is big if you're going to have an opportunity to win some of the games that we've got to play going down the stretch. I don't know if it's more of a question about Garrett and Sean as it is about the offensive line. Those are the guys that are taking all the pounding. Those are the guys that are taking the baby collisions all the time, and those are the guys that are going down. If those guys don't want the ball, we won't give them to them. We'll give it to somebody else. But it seems like that thing's not very heavy, and they seem like they enjoy carrying it. So until they tell us not to, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Coach, when electing to give Wake that 3rd and 23 before halftime, and then they convert, and then they get the touchdown after the fact, walking into the locker room, how did that change your halftime speech to the guys, that knowing that it was only a 1-score possession game?
It's never a speech. It's always a talking to. And you can do the numbers. I was sitting there. The guy is the most accurate kicker in the history of Wake Forest. His longest kick is 47 yards. I know what his longest kick is. He was in the stadium booting it from 58 and drilling it in pregame warmups. If anybody watches pregame warmups, and I'm sitting there going, he's like 900%. And I'm like, this guy's not going to miss. Okay, so I had a choice of letting them get 3 or seeing if they can convert a 3rd and 23 versus our defense. I don't know what the analytics are, but you guys can shoot the percentages and write a heck of an article. And then even with the 3rd and 23, we had a guy right there, but we didn't make the play. So I know this game's going to be a close game. It's always a close game. I didn't want to, surrender 3 points right before the half, okay? Because I knew it was going to come back to matter, and it did. I would like to see us hit a couple of more balls. There were some deep balls where we didn't make some plays on. I would like to see that stuff, but scoring 30-something points and I don't know how many yards we got. I think we had our biggest offensive day. I'm not too mad. There's only one thing I'm upset about.
All right, the Coach Montage is brought to us by the Spotify Green Room app. Go there to your iOS or Android stores. Download the app. It's free, of course. And sign up today. Username, password, and an email address gets you in to the Green Room Spotify app. You can follow us there at Cuse Militia. You can get in the Green Room. You can talk, you can chat amongst yourself or others with us if we can, or you can request to speak. You can get on for fan feedback. So we try to go live for fan feedback most episodes, if I remember. But you don't have to just listen to us. You can go ahead and follow other people, other sports, other teams. Range of topics from politics to sports to pop culture to music to movies, all of that. So, and you can start your own thing. That's what's cool about it. You don't have to be anybody big or anything. You don't have to have your own podcast. You can create your own podcast essentially right there and have people listen to you. So, Spotify Green Room app, go to iOS or Android stores. Download it today. All right, Joe. So I'm going to couple these two things in with, by the way, Syracuse is a communication school, right? I mean, really?
Yeah. I mean, I believe so. Yeah, that's part of one of their.
Yeah, it's a big one, right? Yeah,
big majors.
Yeah, it's kind of big. You know, Mike Tirico among one of those. We could go on.
One of many.
Yeah, I know. Right. So, can they get the audio in the post game press conferences fixed? I mean, it is insanely stupid how bad it is. I listened to other schools' press conferences, and some are bad, but some of them are way better. So, anyways, I just want everybody to know that wasn't us. That was the recording. All right, so let's couple these two things in together, and we'll go over some of the fan feedback from it. I think it'll be just glorious. So much fun.
No, I'm sure.
The 2-point conversion, okay. Coach says no sense of urgency. He didn't want to go into overtime. I thought that it was a gutsy call. My wife actually left. We were outside watching this thing, and she went inside. She couldn't handle the pressure. So she was so nervous about it. But it obviously never happened because of the penalty. And Coach said, there was no sense of urgency. Garrett Schrader, in his post-game press conference after the game, he pretty much took responsibility for that. And
he took responsibility for a lot of stuff, which is what a good captain / quarterback does.
Right. So, but he did take responsibility for that. And, it's a mix, right? It's a mix between the players and the coaches and getting these guys back up to the line and knowing what you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that said, Joe, with that said, I think it was a good call. It would have been, you see this a lot, especially in college. Well, you see it a lot everywhere when look, we are in the driver's seat and we control our destiny rather than handing this ball back over. If we don't have to, if there's always a play for that when you are in that situation. And obviously they had the play, and he was even asked what play it was. Like he's going to tell whoever asked that.
They'll learn one day, I feel like.
No, they won't. So anyways, Joe, as far as the 2-point conversion goes, what do you think?
So a couple of things. Obviously, when you score like that, you have a situation where, there was a lot of celebration and there's guys fired up, obviously. But then also, too, like when I normally watch other games, and I think this is something that Dino maybe didn't want to talk about I don't know how many times I've seen a delay game. Usually when it's they go on the side, they ask you if you want to go for one, if you want to go for two, right? It seemed very, very quick,
it
right?
Did seem quick.
There's a lot of things that went on there. And even, I was watching the game with your brother, and I even told him, I said, I don't want to go into overtime because I felt like Wake Forest offense kind of had the momentum, and I didn't want them to be out on the field. Didn't want to be in that situation. And then, like you said, to go down and score and get that momentum, it's like, okay, we got one play. Let's
96 yards.
Right. It was very impressive, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming.
No way.
It happened. And that's why we had the celebration we had, and that's why I was like, okay, we got the defense on the heels. I even told your brother, I do not want to. If we score, we have to go for two. And to your point, we had to take that offensive momentum that we had from that drive. That the defense was tired, and you got to just use that one last play to just get those 3 yards so that you don't have to see overtime. And obviously, it didn't happen, and there was many reasons why. But again, too, it's a situation where, we can talk about it once. I'm sure fan feedback's going to be talking about it. So I'll get into my point when it comes to that, right? But at the end of the day, I'll just leave it in short right now is that it's easy to whine about that in hindsight.
The second one, and these are out of order from the montage, but I want to put them together so we can. These are the glaring issues of the game. These are the most social media criticized issues of the game. Given Wake the second shot at third down, a coach said Wake's kicker was hitting from 58 in pregame warmups. I mean, honestly, I think that's I guess you take a little that into consideration, but who cares? You still got to do it.
I would have done the same thing.
You would have done the same thing? You would have taken that penalty?
The same call. Yep,
I mean,
absolutely.
So here's where I am. I'm not a coach, but I feel like I'd let him kick the field goal. But when he did take the penalty and he was being criticized, I'm like, well, look, I mean, this could turn out to be genius, right? We talk about this every week. He's just not getting these things to fall his way. And it's a ballsy call. It's gutsy. I like it. I wasn't expecting it, and I like it. And I'm like, well, hell, anything can happen here, right? So they got 23 yards. So they're either going to try for 3 or they're going to try for 3. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Unfortunately, they got the first down. But
no, and they went down and scored a touchdown too.
Right. Well, right. And I'll get to that. But to say that, he's hitting them from 58 pregame warmups, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. You still got to do it in an in-game atmosphere with a defense and all of the other things that surround a kicker in that moment, rather than just pregame warmups. That's not an excuse I liked. After that touchdown, we ended up scoring a touchdown. Okay. Fair enough, Joe? The pregame warmup thing, I think it's dumb.
That's that's all you got to go off of. But I mean, there's obviously a pressure factor as well. So there's a couple different things to look into. But at the end of the day, if he's hitting it from there, then I can understand. I mean, he's obviously showing him that he can do it.
Totally different situation though. But that touchdown was a defining moment for this game in the momentum swing, because Syracuse they were up 21-10 at one point in the first half. This touchdown happens right before the half. You just feel the dome, just the air go out of the damn thing. Quieted the crowd pretty good. It's such a buzzkill to have that happen. Obviously in hindsight, and all these things are looked at in hindsight, which is why we do this, right? So we can act like we're so much smarter than A coach or B coach.
To do with that.
No, I'm just saying it's perspective, but we don't get to comment until the game's over, right? So in hindsight, it seemed like a terrible idea. You either make them kick a field goal, you get the 3 points. I mean, that's not that big of a swing. You got to figure like 3 points. Okay, well, So, what more could you add to that, Joe?
Well, so to his point, Dino's point in the presser, Stephen Thompson was right there. Stephon Thompson was right there, and he just didn't see the guy coming from the left. And there was somebody that was right there to make the play. And again, like I said, and to your point, we make that play, we win the game. So,
and we don't lose the momentum because
coaches can only call the plays. They can't go out there and make the plays for the players. The guy was there. He was in position, didn't see the guy. The guy snuck in front of him. There's not too many plays out there that are available to call when it's 3rd and 23.
No, you're right. You think they'd be able to stop that. And which is why when it was 3rd and 23 and he accepted the penalty and the broadcast was like, why is they doing that? Of course they get all riled up after they get the first down. But I didn't think it was a bad idea. I didn't. I was on the fence. I was like, whatever.
I didn't think it was. It was
the last thing we needed was a touchdown.
That is true, but at the end of the day, it's a first half call in which I don't think it's not going to be the outcome of the game. It's not going to be the outcome of the game one way or another. Obviously, you look at it. Oh yeah, the 7 points. Okay, of course, but it didn't stop us from putting ourselves in position to win the game.
A little early fan feedback, shall we? Dan on Facebook, Baber's got to go. Mike, Facebook, Dino needs to go. Jamie, Facebook, the whole coaching staff, fire them all. I feel bad for the players. Disgusting. At Dan Garcetta, Dino must go, but first wild hack. At Yankee Pappy, played with missed opportunities, missed field goals, decision to go for 2 and missing. At, let's just say Mr. W. F Dino. At D Dekime 77. Give the ball to Tucker. Okay, fair enough. Clock man at Tyndall / Dave. Clock management also, they came a long way. They need to do better in the passing game. But you've got Dino makes terrible decisions. Quickly, I just want to give you, this is why we don't have a ton of fan feedback.
Nah, I mean, I get it.
It's all on Dino. Do moral victory at T. Staffieri. Do moral victories go on Dino's record? Dino has to go. Should have gone for the extra point. Fire Dino. These are all different. Dino blew this game. So many coaching errors. Highly frustrating. Fire Babers. And I'm not mentioning everybody's name because honestly, I'm just kind of giving you a taste. At Sean John 1998, I got one foot in the door of the Fire Dino Club. Sterling Gilbert needs to go now, though. So, Joe, to your point, and there's a lot of that. So, in a game where Syracuse actually played good, a couple minor hiccups. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, the little things are what are going to cost us, right? But are we calling for Dino's head again? I mean, I don't know where the line is with.
You keep moving the goalposts. That's what it is.
Well, I guess I keep moving the goalposts, right? I mean, I think,
I'm not saying I wasn't saying specifically you, but some of these fans, it seems like.
Well, no, they're moving them in, and I feel like sometimes I'm pushing them out. And I'm not a Dino Babers apologist or anything, but some of his decisions are questionable. But some of his decisions, like you said, he can call the calls make the calls and throw the plays out there. But at the end of the day, someone's got to execute these things.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really what my point was. Last year and the year before, they couldn't recruit, right? They couldn't recruit at an ACC level. They couldn't do any of this stuff. So, of course, it was their fault. Now that we're competing, now it's, they can't play call. They can't do this. They can't do that, right? So,
did you listen to the open of his press conference today? It's supposed to be a press conference for Clemson.
I haven't listened to it yet.
Okay, all right. Well, there's not a whole lot there except for in the beginning, and it's the typical stuff. Reliving Wake Forest in like one question, two questions about Clemson. Okay.
Yeah.
So he starts off by saying, before we ask any questions, about the decision making, I fully trust my players. I have full confidence in them. And here's where we're at. To his point, we are at a place where, like you just said, we are competing with the top 25 team in the country. And we are putting up points like we haven't done since Dungy has been here. Mm-hmm. And we have got a shot. You have got to have some nuts in some skin in the game when you do these things. If you want to come out with a big win, you got to take big chances. Unfortunately, we haven't got there. That does not mean it's bad coaching. It means that we have work to do. And as far as we have come to just this year to this point, I think is enough for me to have enough confidence in the coaching staff and these players to believe that at some point they are going to figure this out. And these calls will not be as controversial or as highly criticized because they'll start converting some of these things.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. From the day that Garrett Schrader started at Liberty till today, we played against good teams. People said, Wake Forest or Florida State, we shouldn't have lost to them. Well, they just went out and beat North Carolina. People probably have their own opinions on how good North Carolina is, but
I do.
That's besides the point. The point is, you had the fan there that said, you got to get rid of Sterling Gilbert. Like, what? To what you said. I mean, we figured it out. We had 514 yards of offense.
By the way, 514 yards of offense to Wake Forest is 426.
Yeah, right. And we held the ball. We had time of possession 33, almost 34 minutes to the 26 minutes that they had. So we did on offense everything that we should have done. On top of that, we had Aaron Service and Chris Bleich, who were hurt, had to go to Kalen Ellis and had to go to Josh Aloha, two, I believe, true freshmen.
Yeah,
who were.
Josh definitely is a true freshman.
And they went out there and they did very, very well for that type of situation to get thrown in there. On top of the fact that you have, balls that Garrett Schrader are throwing and hitting our receivers in the head, in the helmets. And
if it hits you in the helmet, Joe, what's the rule? We've talked a lot about.
I mean, look, if it hits you in your hands, you're definitely supposed to catch it. But if it hits you in your helmet, I don't really know. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like I said, we got some stuff to do in the receiver room.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think offensively, I don't think that you could ask for a better showing other than, like I said, some receiver issues and miscommunication between, the quarterback and him, which again, this is also still his third full start with these guys. Right.
Right.
And losing Taj, him saying that he was leaving, and then the really bad fumble for Cooper. I mean, to me, that fumble for Cooper was
terrible.
But
I thought that was ball game.
And all of everything, that was ball. I thought it was too.
Yeah.
And it ended up not being
3 and out.
At the end of the day,
defense stepped up big time. Talk about stepping up. They stepped up there. It was a 3 and out after that whole thing.
Well, yeah, but when it comes down to the defense, like I said, no one's even talking about the defense. I think that if anything, I mean, we did what we had to do because of Wake Forest's weird offensive attack, right? How they just hold it there and they just don't know if it's going to be a run or a pass forever, right? So we had to bring some people. And if anything, I mean, it showed us that when we're forced to go man-to-man and then the deep side or the back end with no safety help, then we have a little bit of problems. You saw Deuce Chestnut get beat for a touchdown. You saw Garrett Williams get beat for a touchdown. You saw Jason Simmons get beat for a touchdown. I mean, really, when you look at it, we had to do that. And I believe there was I think they had 3 receptions that were over 40 yards. One with Jakari Roberson, even though he didn't score, but he ended up with 9 catches for 135 yards. And A.T. Perry, he had 2 touchdowns.
One for 69. Yeah, and he had 2.
One for 69, one for 46, and then he had the one at the end to walk it off. Yeah. So, I mean, if you ask me, really what it did was we played a good team, and into what we talked about last week. And I said I want a team that's gonna compete and is gonna have a chance to win every week, and we did. Against this team, it's like you said, undefeated, top 25 team. And if anything, really what it showed me was that, we need a little bit of work with some of the younger guys in the back end as far as secondary because, I mean, again, they have good receivers, big receivers. They got a good quarterback, but they kind of, showed a little bit of a weakness there. And then obviously our receivers need to step up. But with all that said, I mean, we played a great game. And those are the weaknesses. And I really can't bring it down to coaching because, like I said, you can lead a horse to water, right? Mm-hmm. So now that we know our weaknesses, hopefully we take that and we get better. And another thing to really throw in there, too, is that you have to understand this team has got we talked about 11, 12 super seniors. This team is deep. This team is old. And, I mean, we have true freshmen. We had 18, 19, 20-year-olds out there going against their 22, 23, 24-year-olds.
And a guy who's probably still learning this offense at the end of the day. I mean, Garrett Schrader doesn't have the thing mastered yet.
Right.
And did a phenomenal job. Let's go here. Garrett's play doesn't want to compare him to Dungy. Well, too bad. Because that whole shtick against Wake Forest was very Dungy-esque. And we've said it before, but that was some amazing stuff. Dude's playing in some pain. I mean, obviously he played through some pain. There was a couple hits where he felt it. Just putting himself out there. 29 carries for 178 yards. I just don't remember Dungy doing that though.
Dungy's done some ridiculous stuff. I don't remember him carrying the ball that much.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
But he could maybe. Well, look, Dungy came
into
his
tough as Dungy.
Yes, he is.
Because I saw Dungy get knocked out a couple times.
I don't remember Dungy's height and weight, but 6'4", 230 for Garrett Schrader. That's a big boy, and he's going to be able to dish out the pain as much as he can take it in certain situations. And
Dungy was pretty big his senior year when he was big.
He was big. But you know what else Dungy had to work on too? Another similarity between Schrader and Dungy was that Dungy's throwing skills were not honed in until his senior year. And I don't even know if they were totally honed in then, but obviously he progressively got better. And we criticized his arm. We criticized his...
he had better receivers too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we criticized his arm. We criticized his long ball. And we criticized, some of the just in the dirt passes. Dungy did that stuff, guys. It's not that far removed from going back and thinking about those mistakes that Dungy used to make all the time. The difference in yards per play was that was the difference, I think, in the passing game. Obviously, we just couldn't complete the long ones. 10.3 yards per play for Hartman, 5.9 for Schrader. Longs of 69 and 42, like you were talking about, Joe, for Hartman, 29 and 28 for Schrader. And at the end of the day, I think Yeah, Schrader was 55.5% completion rate to Hartman's 59.5. And their QBR's pretty close too. And so I guess my point is that they obviously got a well-oiled machine, and they exposed a little bit of our DBs, and they just obviously executed better. We talked about execution coming into this game, and you're going to have to be almost perfect.
Oh yeah, man. There was a couple times right there where we were there, but we weren't. We were trying to catch up. Like I looked at it like Deuce Chestnut. I mean, A.T. Perry.
He was beat. Are you talking about the last play of the game?
Yeah. I mean, he was beat, but you're talking about a 6'5", 200-pound, receiver in which, he was beat, and Deuce is a true freshman. I mean, obviously, I know that A.T. Perry's a sophomore. I don't know if he's redshirt or not, but either way, that's just, again, another learning experience for him. We saw Deuce Chestnut get beat with an out and up the other week. And, you hope that he learns from that and sees the tape. And again, here, this is just another situation where at some point where you're in, like the receiver, he didn't have that much room left in, like, I don't know if Deuce just decided he was just going to go after the arms or what it was. But at some point, that receiver's running out of real estate, which means the ball's coming. And, they want to talk about it was a great catch. And that was fine. It was a great catch. Wasn't the greatest throw. If Deuce Chestnut turned around and found that ball, that's an easy interception, or at least an easy knockdown. So, again, they got these perfect matchups in certain situations in which, the coin flip went their way. And I think that's a lot of what happens with Babers and some of his decisions as well. You talk about the 2-point conversion, that's all in hindsight.
Yeah,
all
the criticisms
he did this, he did that, right? So, okay, so if he does that, right, and we go for 2 and he doesn't get it, we lose the game. We don't even go into overtime.
Right.
Then what are the fans saying,
Well,
Sean?
they're going to say, well, why'd we go for 2? Why didn't we just kick the extra point and go into overtime?
PAT, going to overtime, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
it's a no-win situation. I'm sorry. It's a 33% win situation. You got to basically make the 2-point conversion to make everybody happy. I think it's a ballsy call just to begin with.
Or you go into overtime and you win. You go into overtime, you win. They're not even talking. They might be talking, well, it's a little sloppy, but they wouldn't be talking about Fire Dino and F Dino and all this other stuff. Like, at the end of the day, he can't wrangle up a whole 11 people that are down in the damn.
By the way, how close was Chestnut to, he never turned around. And he
never turned around, but the arm.
It was close, right?
Yeah, I know.
And I heard you brought it to my attention, but I saw it in our fan feedback where they said that we got screwed by the refs in the last play of the game. Guys, he caught the ball. I don't even know how this is controversial.
That's a catch in the NFL.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I put out thoughts on the game while they were still reviewing it. I saw one replay and I'm like, oh yeah, it's game over. I mean, he caught the ball. Yep. I didn't think that was controversial at all. So
I mean, I was just hoping that there was a wing or a prayer that somehow he's going to say something, but I knew in my head, I'm like, I want him to make a mistake.
Yeah.
But if he would have said that, if he would have overturned that, I'd been like, oh, that's a bad call, but I'll take it. Kind of like the hold against Florida State,
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Well, for Florida State fans.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House.
All right, you guys know what to do at the end of every game. Go to the socials. I will post for your thoughts. I beg for them. You give them to us, and we talk about them here. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of original thought in here, but I did find a couple good ones. I'm going to start with one that I thought was kind of cool, and I didn't realize who this was until I checked.
You read it?
No. At Pretty Flower. This is Cody Roscoe's mom. The kids played their hearts out. Nobody can talk to me about our defense because even when they're beat down and beat up, they still come through with playmakers and game changers. The Schrader and Tucker recipe was working fine to me. So why change up on racking up points? Well, to Coach's point, too, to finish up the montage, and I didn't even mean to put this in there, but we should talk about it. And he was talking about, giving them the ball if they want to carry it. I mean, obviously this thing is working, Joe. And obviously it is something that is not very easy to prepare for, no matter because you're going to get it, right? You know it's coming, but it is not easy to prepare for. It's just like kind of what Wake was doing. They do it a little bit differently, like you pointed out, with the holding that ball there for however freaking long they can do it.
It's so unique, and it's so like,
But you remember when that's all it was the RPO, and they didn't have the pass game, So, but yeah, I mean, these guys are studs. I don't want to wear them out. By the way, was something interesting that I noticed in the overall stats for the year. Did you realize, let me see, where is it? Yeah. Did you realize that rushing is led by Sean Tucker with 791 yards? Obviously, second is Schrader with 412. You know who third place in rushing is? DeVito with 90 yards. Guys, we got to get some other people the ball, man. Like, I get it, but you got big Chris Elmore back there. You don't want to wear Tucker out. I would be lying to you if I didn't say I was worried about Schrader and Tucker getting wore out. But like Coach said, to his point, they enjoy carrying it. I'm going to keep giving them the ball. They're not the ones taking all the mini shots all the time, but they are. He's talking about his offensive line.
But that's the thing, though. The thing is with that is that, like, you always have the fans and people on the outside being like, well, we gotta get more people in there. We don't want them to get hurt. But if you ask the players,
they
probably want more carries.
Yeah, I know.
So at the end of the day, like, you got to play what's working. And we talked about it. And then I was worried about this to see against Wake Forest, like if it would work. And it did. And again, I think that we surprised Wake Forest. I think we probably surprised some fans. I know we surprised neutral fans that, aren't Syracuse fans, aren't Wake Forest fans, but saw the score and they're like, like.
Does it bother you at all that Cooper Lutz and Abdul Adams both have 12 carries, both have 54 yards? That doesn't bother you a little bit? You don't care?
No. Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't. I wouldn't say it bothers me, but I mean, it's.
If you're not getting the same results, then why would you do it?
I understand, but they've only touched the ball 4 times. Each of them have carried the ball 12 times for 4.5 yards a carry.
No, I mean, not to. I like Cooper Lutz, but look what happened when we gave him the ball last.
Obviously, that's a problem.
Saying, I'm not trying to be but I'm just saying.
Obviously, a problem.
Sometimes you got to look at it from the outside.
That was a catch, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it?
There's reasons why these players are getting this many carries sometimes, right? And you just kind of got to be able to look at.
That was a catch, that was a pass, I believe. So not that it matters that much.
No, I don't know if it was a pass. I think it was a reverse or something like that, or some type of jet sweep or something like that.
Okay, you might be right.
But yeah, to Cody Roscoe's mom's point, they played very, very, very hard. Again, that's a tough team, especially the way that they play. You got to be, especially on defense. So
I was worried about them getting wore out too. I mean,
I think they were a little bit because again, that front is stout, and the way they play that, you have to be just very disciplined. You can't. What they're waiting for you to do is just over pursue, right? They're waiting for you to leave your assignment, leave your lane assignment, to leave this hole wide open as you wait for 2 or 3 seconds before you hand it off or decide that you want to pull it and throw. And so you have to be very, very disciplined. And that's, like I said, where you see as far as the secondary goes, when we didn't have a safety up top and it was just man-to-man, there were certain times where, they just got beat and they got caught up just trying to catch up.
And, those receivers had so much time to – they have so much time to get open, to improvise even.
Well, and that's the thing is when it comes to this team and that offense and the way that they play like that, when it comes to corners and when it comes to your responsibilities, like if you're man to man on a guy, like you pretty much just throw, run help out the window until you 100% know it's a run, because you really don't until like sometimes 2, 3, 4 seconds,
Yeah.
So I hate playing Wake Forest. I hate playing against that, and I think that's one of those just unique offenses that, again, I don't think Wake Forest recruits, is great as some of the top ACC and some of the top other Big 5 conferences. So it's just a little twist in their offense to force teams to be disciplined. And if you're not disciplined, you might be more talented, you might have a higher ranking, but we will be able to beat you with the system. And last couple of years they've started to master it.
Real quick, too, to kind of finish up the montage, I'm kind of trying to blend the two because we went a little long on it. Best offensive showing so far this year for Syracuse, obviously, I think it goes without saying, hands down. And to our points, I think both of us mentioned it in the last show about just wanting to see improvement on this offense and kind of open up the playbook a little bit more and a little bit more. Obviously, Schrader has got a little bit of work to do. But Zach on Facebook, I don't understand why we always play scared to lose rather than trying to take the win. Such odd coaching decisions. I'm happy we are competitive, but these last 2 games have been hard to handle. Hard to handle the gut punch. We are so close. Honestly, would have been easier to handle if we just got blown out. I'm with him on sometimes I feel the same way. It's easier to handle if you just get blown out. And I know you're not, Joe. I know you're not, but it's mostly with me with basketball. Football's different because it's so frustrating, but basketball, it is so tough. I mean, this is totally irrelevant, but it's so tough to watch a basketball game come down to the last second and lose. That sucks. I'm not trying to be so negative to Dino so quickly after a loss, but his decision making and clock management was just awful. So, look, it's 2 tough losses. The 2 games that there's 3. I think that goes without saying. To El Michelle XO's point, this is like what 3rd game we should have won the season. Yeah. You could look back at it and say, you know what, we could be 6-0 right now, right? But guess what? We're not. So, unfortunately, you deal with the hand that you're dealt, and we're 3-3, and that's not terrible.
No.
But this is a gauntlet. We talked about after Liberty what the whole ACC slate actually is not great for Syracuse. Right?
No, and I mean, they marked us what? I mean, Vegas and them marked us at 3 wins, right?
Yeah.
And we came in with a lot of people thinking DeVito was going to lead the team. Tosh Harris was going to be here. And, we went into quarterback competition. We changed it up. He's only been there for 3 games. And, we've been in pretty much every single game. We've been competitive, like I talked about last week. And I would rather be competitive and lose close than get killed any day of the week, because I just think getting killed, I don't care about how easy it is for a fan. It makes the perception is you aren't good.
Right.
So yeah. I would rather lose by 1 point every single loss than to get blown out.
I understand what you're saying.
That's pretty much where I'm at. And again, this team you got a new quarterback, you got young players after a COVID year where you got some of these teams that, think about what Wake Forest did to us last year, and they weren't ranked 19th. So then to come in with a completely different identity and trying to fix everything, because again, like you said, this isn't the same playbook we're running with DeVito. This is a different identity, a different playbook,
totally
different looks, and everything like that.
Yeah.
And for them to be this close, all these little things, they're just growing. They're growing pains. These are growing pains in which you are going to. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt because you're right there, right? You're right there, and it's going to hurt. And you one mistake here, one mistake there, and one step here, 1 inch there, 1 yard there, and they're going to learn from it. And you never really know what is gonna happen, because when they actually learn from it and they actually implement that, then this team could be scary.
Oh yeah, like I said, I think it's
all the little things, and then implement that stuff. Because again, we lost 3 games the year that Dungy was there, and we went 10-3, and there was some good and there's some bad, and then they figured it out and they started tearing some stuff up.
Yeah, and we talked about it. I think a lot of people agree that we're not done seeing the evolution of this offense, and obviously they've gotten better. And of course, you're going to have some hiccups. Like for instance, I thought that I had questions about Virginia Tech and what they were made of, and it seems that they're pretty decent. Burmeister. I don't know if you caught the Virginia Tech Notre Dame game, but it was an excellent game, a hard, tough fought game, and they lost a close one too. So, getting back to my point about the ACC schedule, all the ACC's down, the ACC's down. Well, I don't know. I don't know if the ACC's down or all these teams are like just very equal. Because you know what I'm saying? Obviously Clemson is not as talented without Trevor Lawrence. You're going through talk about growing pains, right? So, and Travis Etienne is gone, right? Yeah.
They get top 5. But again, those are guys that have been sitting. So they got to go through, again, your stuff, exactly what you're saying. But again, too, I mean, all these games, when you look in college-wise and everything like that, they all go towards, like, scheme versus scheme, this type of matchup versus that matchup. Where are we strong? Where are we not? Who's injured? Who's not? Like, there's so many things that goes into college football. And you get one injury on a team, Sam Hartman gets hurt, then we're winning that game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where, there's so many things that goes into college football to where, like,
it's what makes college football so unique compared to the NFL. That's why I like it more, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously we're not going to get into it, but I mean, just to our point, this past weekend of college football was amazing.
It was.
Some of the games that were going on, not even just ours. There was
Arkansas,
ones before
Ole
us,
Miss.
ones after us. Yeah, Alabama, Texas A&M, and there were some great games, and that's what happens. All it takes is just a bad matchup, something to take advantage of, and they're college players. They're not all professionals, so usually we don't really match up that well with Wake Forest, but I think we played. I mean, they surprised me, and it sucks that there's certain people out there that just can't take the positivity out of a situation, even after a loss. Because,
I got to be.
You can anybody really like? Did anybody? I mean, I know that even me, like I guessed that they were gonna win the game. That was my prediction, right? But like, I'm not gonna lie to you. In the back of my head, I thought there was a chance that we might not even have been able to cover the spread. So,
yeah. Well,
just right there with you. There wasn't a lot of people that thought that we were going to be that closer and put it into overtime. There's a lot of surprise people, especially down here in North Carolina, who I've talked to. So
at K Nabiwaniak, 1, can't take the penalty in the first half. Make this kid kick a 50-yard field goal. 2, Andre Schmidt has been the most overrated kicker in the country for 3 consecutive years. Well, I'd say, first
2
for 2 maybe. Okay, you got to maybe give him a
the year
pass
before
last
that he
year.
won the Grows.
Right. So that was the first year, and obviously, I don't know if he's overrated anymore. I think he's leveled off, but he had a phenomenal first year there. Obviously, you can't take that away from him. But to his point, and this is becoming a plague. The punting and the kicking Pena has been great. I think he's done a fantastic job. But the kickers, man, gotta get this straightened out quick, dude. You can't kick a ball for 10 yards. We could have just went for it on 3rd down. I mean, what the hell's the difference? Knowing what we know in hindsight, right? So, so
now I can kick a ball 10 yards.
10 yards? Come on, man. This kid's supposed to be something big. I remember when he was recruited and we got him. I'm like, hell yeah, punter, you. Guess what? That is no longer. I'm sorry. This has got to get fixed. They need to.
No.
Well, what, Joe? What? Please tell me.
He had one bad punt, right?
Okay. He had one bad punt. He had 2 bad punts. He had one this week. He had one last week.
I guess his longest was the 37th. No, last weekend he didn't play. That was the walk-on.
Okay, the walk-ons had 2 bad punts then. Because he had.
Yes, the walk-on has absolutely had 2 bad punts.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
This guy,
James Williams has had 1 bad punt and it was in this game.
I think we're blurring the lines.
Okay.
Here.
Well, you know what? That's a problem, and that's kind of my point. So,
hey.
I think he averages 30 yards right now.
No, he did this game. It was about 31. Yeah,
okay,
the longest was 37.
Okay, well, I think that's his average for the year, by the way. So, and I'll try to check this. But that's a problem, dude.
To your point, it's not what we're used to.
Right.
So, our special teams, and again, this goes, we've seen this. Everyone wants to blame the head coaching. We saw Dungy, we go 10-3, however many years ago. Sean Lynch gets a head coaching job off of that, right?
Right, yeah.
And then we've seen punter you and all our special teams and everything. Like, we've had punters go to the NFL. It was Andre Schmidt won the Rosa. So, of course, our Justin Lustig, our special teams coach, gets another job somewhere where you can make a little bit more money, right? So, it's one of those things where when you lose even position coaches or coordinators, it could mean that much.
Here's another thing.
We saw that.
Yeah. Here's another thing that we talk about a lot with basketball when everybody's calling for Boeheim's head, which is just one of the most absurd things. But
I'm over that.
You got to remember what SU is paying. Guys, I mean, there is so much more money to be made in the college football head coaching arena that you've got to take all of that into consideration as far as, when the fired Dino stuff comes. So,
right.
That's something I don't think that we think about. It's like, what are we going to get for the money that he's making? And he's actually is starting to build something. And I mean, I know it's taken a long time, guys. I know it's frustrating to watch. It is I'm with you. But when I was and here's the thing, when I just did this as a fan, this is our 5th football season covering football. And before I did this and separated my emotion, I was the same freaking way, man. I really was. I really look at things totally different now because I'm paying attention. I just look at things differently, having to do the podcast. And it puts things into perspective. I think that, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that it's too easy to call for someone's job on the little things. It hasn't been anything really big, guys. Last year was an anomaly. We hopefully never have to deal with something like that ever again. 1 in 10 on just an awful, awful circumstance for everybody. And, we see what he can do. He's brought in Garrett Schrader. I think that Garrett Schrader right now has given Syracuse the best opportunity to win. So that was not an easy decision for Dino to make, putting Garrett in over Tommy. He recruited Tommy, right? So you got to think about all of those things. He's making tough decisions. Right. Yeah. So,
and he's in a situation too, like you said, where we don't have that many resources.
No.
When you look at a team like Alabama, like you want to go, Alabama, how come they do this? How come they do that? Well, they recruit, they have Nick Saban, but they also pick up like every major, like Doug Marrone is like an offensive line coach down there, right? Like that's where coaches go, where they get fired from head coaching jobs to reignite their careers, to be a positional coach or an OC. Like he's got NFL and people all over the place. There's so much more money and resources as far as that goes to all these other schools to where you can get paid more, on top of the fact that you get more coaching. I mean, right now we don't even have a special teams coach. It's like separated between a whole bunch of different coaches, like different things. Like you have this and you have this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And to perspective, like you said, I mean, you got to be able to have perspective. All the things that we've learned, and once you pay attention to the point to, that we've had to, then you start to see some trends and some things. And there's reasons why things just don't blow up. And again, in pure Syracuse fan fashion, if you don't get hired and turn something into a national champion, even though our football really is never,
it's just not that kind of program,
right? Like it's just right. So there's so many things that goes against us, even geographically, when it comes to weather and recruiting.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's not a great spot.
That was another thing that opened up my eyes, and I don't know about the same thing with you. When I moved down to North Carolina, I'm seeing some of these high schools down here who got coaches that were professionals.
Dude, they recruit high school kids down here. There's an ex Steelers offensive lineman. His name slips my mind right now, but he was played for the Steelers for a number of years. He's one of the Virginia Beach High School football coaches. Okay.
Oh yeah.
They recruit. These high schools around here in the South recruit, and not even
recruit. It's the programs.
Well, yeah, they basically steal players. But I have a buddy at work who's got like an 8 or 9 year old kid, and some of the things that they have, some of the programs and the workouts, some of these facilities and stuff, and off season training, we don't have up north. No,
like it's not available.
Well, that's my point.
Like it's not like that, right? So, I mean, there's a high school right in where I live in Wake Forest Heritage that at some point, I don't know if it's still the same. I mean, they had Willie Parker and I think Torrance Holt, like one of the Holt brothers, is like coaches. Like, I mean, you got professionals coaching high school down here. That's not happening.
Same here, Cox High School. Look it up. I forget the dude's name. But
so
yeah, it's a big deal.
There's a lot of inherent disadvantages that people they just want to ignore. And if they want to, that's fine. That's on them.
I understand it though. I mean, I don't blame I don't blame fans for feeling that way. Like I said, I felt that way too.
Fans want their team to be good.
Well, of course, right? Fan is short for fandom, right? Fandom is a mental disorder.
Fanatic.
yeah, fanatic. It's a mental disorder at the end of the day, right? So, I mean, we put ourselves through hell being fans of any given team. I mean, Joe's a Giants fan. I mean, that must suck. Do you know how much depression that must bring him these days? I'm a Raiders fan, dude. I've been depressed.
My whole team died yesterday.
I'm a Raiders fan, guys. You know my pain. You know my pain. Okay, so
Tyler's Cowboys. I bet he was chopping at the bit.
Yeah, whatever.
Wanted to throw
Cowboys, up. I'm so over that. At Lax Addict 15, they played the best they played all year, and the D got tired. I think there was some mental errors on the coaching staff. Yeah, I mean, look, all that. It's not one. It's not one thing. But the offense did play their asses off. I thought they did a phenomenal job. And
500 plus yards?
Yeah, absolutely. And we knew going into this game, they were going to have a good opportunity to put up some yards and some points against this defense, because this defense was ranked coming into that game, I think, like 101st in the country. So that's their one, weak spot is their defense. And you got to put up points.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where you saw Louisville. They scored, I think, 34 points on them, but that's the only team that scored on them. So I think we scored the most points on them all year, and that's something to say. And again, when it comes to certain things, when you want to blame the coach, like, yeah, they're going to blame the coach, they're going to blame Dino and all that stuff for that 2-point conversion, that whole situation. But I am willing to bet there's going to be a little bit of a act like you've been there before situation during practice this week, and I'll bash Babers if this thing happens again and we need to go for 2 and the same thing happens. But I'd be willing to bet that situation is probably not going to happen again this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, look, okay, so the penalties. You remember when we had those, 20-something penalties between Albany?
Oh, yeah.
What was it? Albany and Rutgers. Rutgers and Albany. It was 23, 24, something like that. Look, they've been really, really good since then.
Cleaned it up.
They cleaned it up. Now They just got to clean up some of these mental errors. And like I said, Garrett Schrader took responsibility for a few of them, mostly the 2-point conversion stuff. And you get caught up in the moment. And like Joe said, I feel like that clock ticked a little faster than it normally does, but I mean, that could just be me. Didn't seem like a very long time.
I've never seen a team ever have a problem lining up and going for a 2-point conversion.
You know where my confusion was? Is that I thought they were going to go for 1 and then they changed their minds. I thought that's what happened. I thought that's why the clock ran out. I didn't even realize it was like celebration and not getting to the line. I had no idea. So, I mean, that's just how I remember it. But, yeah, so they got to clean this stuff up. It's a game of inches, literally. I mean, you've got to clean up that stuff if you're going to win these games in the ACC. Yeah. And like we said, it's a freaking gauntlet, man. I mean, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Louisville, NC State, Pittsburgh to finish out the year. I mean, can they get 3 wins out of that? I don't know. I don't know if they can. But if they keep doing what they're doing and improving on the things that have held them back, I think that we could be surprised. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I think there's a situation where, I mean, when we talked about bowl game earlier in the year and we had, Michael and Tyler on and we talked about, and you said 5-7, 6-6, all this other stuff. I think that we probably thought we were going to have a better record than 3-3 right now. But I don't know if we all thought that we would be as competitive and, as we're starting to see. I mean, we haven't seen the final product. You've seen Schrader, I think, get better every week at passing, and he's getting a lot more confident every week. I mean, he didn't just to see 300 plus yards of rushing,
guys,
being that physical.
He's got moves too, man. It's not like he's just bull rushing. He is
got a nice little
spinning out
spinny.
of tackles.
He's got a nice little circle button.
Yes, he does. He's got a circle button. Yeah. By the way, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I did have them at 3-3 at this point. I just didn't have the wins and losses totally correct. So
okay. Well,
if you swap Wake Forest with Liberty, I had Liberty as a loss and Wake Forest as a win. That's where I screwed up so far.
Yeah. Tommy didn't have a circle button.
No. Tommy's got a dive stick.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Every time I hit the
offense.
circle button with him, he got sacked. That's
So yeah. Look, sorry we were a day late on all of this. We really appreciate you guys for hanging out, and we are going to be back tomorrow for the Clemson post game, our pregame preview. I'll get it right eventually.
Let's go.
So Friday Night Lights.
Yes, sir.
Syracuse, Clemson. We'll be back tomorrow. We appreciate all you guys. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out of here.
Peace.